All right, we got some new cards that have just been revealed for Scholomance Academy, and the main Hearthstone website doesn't have them updated yet, so I'm going to use a different website. So first, let's talk about Ace Hunter Kreen, dual class legendary for Demon Hunter Hunter, 3 mana 2/4. Your other characters are immune while attacking. This is really good. These classes are already very aggressive, and trading is something that maybe they don't want to do because it doesn't allow them to apply pressure to their opponent's face. Now this allows them to trade while maintaining the board. This card may already kind of need a nerf, being able to stick a minion onto, maybe you play any sort of 2-drop like a fairy dragon, or maybe you stuck a couple battle fiends and then you put this down and you get to trade and not take damage. You get to keep the health on your minions, and yeah, the immunity is actually very, very important. If you have a weapon equipped, since your character is immune, you'd also be able to use that weapon to remove something without losing health. Now, if you've equipped your war blades and this guy's on the board, you get to slap a bunch of minions and take no damage. So this mostly scares me in Demon Hunter. Now in Hunter, like Highlander Hunter is very, very strong. I do think this gets an inclusion in that. And I don't think this is really going to stick around. Like if you place this thing, he's probably going to die relatively easily. He does have 4 health, but it's still kind of easily removed. But let's just say he sticks, and then you get to throw down a Diving Griffin or a Zixor Prime. You're gonna get some free trades. You're gonna get a lot of value out of this thing. So this thing just demands removal, has immediate impact on the board, very proactive, and I think this is a 5-star card. All right, so let's look at Mozaki Master Duelist, mage legendary, 5 mana 3/8. After you cast a spell, gain spell damage +1. Now when I first saw this, I got pretty excited. I thought, oh, maybe it's gonna go and Cyclone Mage, which has been a list I've actually been playing a bit recently. But I think the mana cost is just a little bit too much, and it's going to make that deck feel a little bit awkward. You often just want to play a Sorcerer's Apprentice and pop off with a Mana Cyclone when you just have, I don't know, 5-6 mana, and get those random spells in your hand. And if they're cheap, maybe you unload those too. Now with this card, it makes the cost of your combo a little bit higher. So maybe it's going to end up being awkward. You're going to hold on to this, a Cyclone and an Apprentice, play that on 9 with some cheap spells, hope that the spells you get from your Cyclone end up being cheap as well, so you can continue to buff this card up. And what if you get expensive spells and this ends up doing nothing? That's a little bit awkward. Now, I think kind of what they intended when they made this is that this card would stick. It's a 5 mana 3/8. Maybe you just plop it on 5. Hope it sticks. If it does, then you can pop off on 6. Maybe that's what it is. It does demand removal, and if your opponent doesn't have the removal for it, they can be greatly punished. But I feel like it's gonna be easily dealt with by most decks. So because I think it's a little bit awkward to play in Cyclone Mage, you can't really play it in Spell Mage because it's a minion. Getting it randomly from that mage card that discovers 3 minions or whatever in Spell Mage, that's going to feel great. But actually deserving a slot in your deck, I don't think so. Doesn't go in Highlander Mage, doesn't go in Spell Mage, maybe goes in Cyclone Mage, but I feel like it's probably one of the first cut cards from that list. Maybe if we get even more cheap mage spells, it might be good, or maybe we get a 0 mana mage spell or something like that. But for right now, I think this is 3 stars. Ceremonial Maul, a 3 mana 2/2 dual class warrior paladin. Now it has Spell Burst. Summon a student with taunt and stats equal to the spell's cost. I don't think this is that great, really, because the Spell Burst only happens once. If it happened multiple times, maybe this card would be busted. But right now, in that 3 mana slot, you're looking at things like Livewire Lance, Ankar, the Underlight, the Rod for Paladin. And I'd rather have that 1 extra attack. I'd rather have that random Murloc. I'd rather have that random Lackey. The durability on this thing, if you pull it from a cache, really doesn't benefit you that much. And for some reason, I can't think of a great warrior spell that's 4 mana, aside from like Dragon's Breath. So maybe you're going to be using this with 3 mana spells like, I don't know, Shield Block. And getting 1 3-drop off of this thing but it's not until like a turn after. Like, it just doesn't seem great. So I don't see a spot for this in Warrior. In Paladin, you know, you got Blessing of Kings, you got Consecration, you got Librum of Hope, Librum of Justice. So I think this is more of a Paladin card, unless we start seeing some Warrior spells around that 4, 5, 6 mana range that we actually want to run. I'm gonna kind of view it as a Paladin card, and even then, I mean, curving 3 into 4. If you do a Consecration, clears the board and summons a 4/4 with Taunt, that's pretty good. But on turn 3, really all you did was equip a 2/2 weapon. So it seems kind of slow. But, you know, if you discount your Librum of Hope by 1 or 2, it ends up being 6 or 7 mana, and you play this, and then you Librum of Hope, you get an 8/8 Divine Shield Taunt in addition to, you know, a 7/7 with Taunt, or a 6/6 with Taunt. Like, that's gonna end up being pretty good. So Paladin card, pretty much in my eyes. I'm gonna give this 3 stars as well. All right, Cabal Acolyte, a priest card here, 4 mana, 2/6. Taunt with Spell Burst, gain control of a random enemy minion with 2 or less attack. Now, it does seem like that minion you gain control of will be able to attack that turn, in addition to you being able to keep it permanently. It's not until the end of the turn, like Shadow Madness, but it is like Shadow Madness in the sense that it can attack immediately. So there are some good minions with 2 attack, right? So if only there was a cheap way to make your opponent's minions have slightly less attacks, such as Lazul's Scheme, which is 0 mana, and it discounts them based on how many turns you had it in your hand, right? So this ends up being part of a combo, but I think that combo is totally worth, because you play this and then you immediately Lazul's Scheme, and you can steal almost any minion if you had the scheme in your hand long enough. So this ends up being a 2-card combo, 4 mana Mind Control, where the minion you take can immediately attack, in addition to you developing a 2/6 taunt that's really good. Worst case scenario, this is still a 4 mana 2/6 with taunt. And Priest does have a bunch of cheap spells. They got the 1 mana spell that heals 3 and discovers something. Like, you can use this on turn 5. Play this, heal yourself for 3, steal a minion if it's against an aggressive deck, or if you're playing against a control deck or something a little bit slower, you can wait and steal the exact minion you want with that combo that we were talking about. Oh, actually, what's this? So they play that, they Nova, and then it's gonna steal. Yeah, okay, it steals that, right? And it can immediately attack. Okay, you see that? That's pretty good, and it does stay until the end of your turn. So that's pretty impactful, I think, right? It only stole a miscreant, but you can see it can definitely be a bit better than that. So I think this card actually gets 5 stars. I think we're going to see a lot of this. Priest, again, already kind of a frustrating class, stealing your stuff, beating you with your own deck. This is kind of keeping that tradition going. It's going to be fun to see this. All right, we got Flesh Giant. This is an 8 mana 8/8. I do love me some giants, and this costs 1 less for each time your hero's health has changed during your turn. So Priest, every time you heal, it's going to get a little bit of a discount. Warlock, every time you tap or take damage, it's going to be getting a discount. Now, I don't really see this as a Priest card. For some reason, I can't envision somewhere where you would slot this in. Getting it randomly off of Galakrond will be good, and you'll probably be happy to throw this thing out, but actually deserving a slot in your deck, probably not as Priest. As Warlock, maybe this actually goes in some sort of Zoolock, because you're going to be tapping quite a bit. Maybe, you know, you end up playing this as a 0 mana 8/8. That's really, really solid. If you play this as a 5 mana 8/8, also solid. So like, I feel like if you've at least taken damage like 3 times, it's going to be really good. So if Warlock does end up getting some self-damaging card, like Blood Witch, again, I think I was talking about that earlier, a card like that would be super good, because this would get discounted every turn, or maybe that'd make this busted. But yeah, I think it belongs in some sort of zoo list, but might get cut, might be a little bit too slow. We'll have to see if there is that self-damaging card, because if there isn't, you know, tapping a few times, this might be worth, or maybe it won't, because right now Warlocks are running discard for that Hand of Gul'dan in order to get card draw and just dump cheap minions, as opposed to tapping that often. So if you end up using Hand of Gul'dan and you get this as 6 mana, it's a little bit awkward, because your discard your highest card effects, might be discarding this instead of Hand of Gul'dan, which would end up being kind of awkward. So maybe this just, maybe actually the more I think about that Hand of Gul'dan stuff, the less I like this card. I do think it'll see play. I'm gonna mess around with it in some sort of zoo list, but I'm gonna give it 3. All right, Disciplinarian Gandling. This is a 4 mana 3/8 dual class legendary for Warlock and Priest. And this is really good. 4 mana 3/6, good stats. After you play minion, destroy it and summon a 4/4 failed student. Again, I see this more as a Zoolock card because the current Zoolock lists would love to run this. They have a bunch of cheap, low health, low attack minions, a lot of 1-drops, right? So you play this, you have a few lackeys in hand, all of a sudden those lackeys are now 4/4s, reminiscent of Tikan. And when you pull off Tikan in a lackey lock, you kind of tend to win because your flood of lackeys, it's difficult for your opponent to be able to keep up with all those 4/4s. So using this with the new eggs, maybe you play this and you play a Serpent Egg, you're going to get a 4/4 and a 3/4 in addition to having this on the board. That's only 6 mana for a ton of stats. You could play this with that new that Spider Egg. This is going to get you a 4/4 in addition to 2 2/1s. Very good. And then just all those other 1 mana minions you have. Maybe you have an Og Merchant. You know, you play this, you Og Merchant, give this guy the Divine Shield, summon a 4/4 on top of that. That's 5 mana for what? 7 9 and a Divine Shield. Like that's pretty good, dude. I do feel like they're trying to push Priest in more of a buff tempo direction. Playing some of the 1 mana Priest cards, the 1/2 Galakron card. The new 1/4 or whatever, some other cheap Priest minions, and then hitting them with buffs, hitting them with Apoth, hitting them with what is it, the new Velen, the 2/6 buff. Yeah, this card just looks fantastic to me, especially in Warlock, and I'm excited to mess around with it in Priest. But yeah, with Warlock seems really good. If Priest starts getting some more smaller minions, or if we just see some really good death rattle neutrals or something like that, I could see this doing fantastic in Priest as well. So I'm gonna give this 5 stars. So we got 5, we got 3, we got 5, we got 3, we got 3, we got 5. I mean, these all seem pretty good. Like these 3 cards seem pretty good in the current meta, and I think they might see play. You might mess around with them, but they're not 1-star cards. Yeah, I think they're right at 3. I think they're right. Again, once we see the entire set, this would be a lot easier to judge. Not only this card, but this card to see if there are any 4 mana spells for Warrior that get better, and this card if there are self-damaging things. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this. If you like the video, you know, hit it with the thumbs up. I'll be doing more card reviews. Hope you enjoy. Good luck on ladder and stay hydrated.